Welcome to this explainer. Most of us, right? We wake up and just immediately surrender to the chaos. The alarm blares, we grab our phones, and bam, within seconds, all the demands, the anxieties, and the total unpredictability of the modern world just flood our minds. But what if we deliberately chose stillness before the storm? You see, the ancient Stoics absolutely nailed this. They understood that the trajectory of our entire day is dictated by how we conquer those very first waking moments. So, we're going to explore a complete, rigorous philosophical framework today. It's a journey from the absolute stillness of dawn, right through to the reflective twilight of dusk. And look, this isn't just about catching a fleeting moment of peace. No, it's a tactical preparation of the mind. We're going to master a specific sequence of morning preparations, ground ourselves in the brutal realities of what we can and cannot control, and set the stage for an unflinching evening review. Because doing this, it forges a mindset capable of absorbing literally whatever the day throws at us. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to take a deep breath and just absorb this atmosphere for a second. In Stoicism, the early morning is this incredibly sacred space. I mean, it's the ultimate blank slate, right? The Emperor Marcus Aurelius actually wrote in his private journals about the sheer agonizing difficulty of dragging himself out from under warm blankets at dawn. He had to remind himself that he was born to do the work of a human being, not just huddle for warmth. The dawn represents this absolutely crucial, tranquil window before the noise, the emails, and all the obligations of society take over. So immersing in that dawn-centering glow, that's a deliberate act of claiming your very first victory of the day. The soft, radiant light breaking through the morning mist acts as a powerful metaphor for the clarity and illumination we're actively seeking to cultivate before we step out into our daily lives. By drawing energy and focus right from the start, a practitioner builds this unshakable psychological fortress before the world even has a chance to lay siege to it. But before we get into the heavy philosophical concepts, the practice actually demands a physical foundation, upright and centered. Just sitting in an upright posture isn't merely some old tradition. It's the physical manifestation of a mental refusal to be crushed by external events. You're taking a stance of profound alertness and intentionality here. By straightening your spine, aligning your shoulders, and centering your body, you're literally signaling to your nervous system that you are completely present. Your posture is basically telling the world, hey, I'm here, my mind is fortified, and I am ready to stand firm against whatever weight gets placed on my shoulders today. Remember, the body leads, and the mind follows. So, the morning foundation really breaks down into 3 clear steps. Number 1, assuming an upright meditation posture to establish that physical readiness we just talked about. Number 2, embracing the dawn setting to utilize the uninterrupted quiet of the early morning. And number 3, focusing on symbolic elements to anchor the mind's reflections. Now, keep in mind, these 3 steps are really just the prerequisite for the real work. They build the scaffolding we need for the rest of the day's philosophical practices, specifically preparing for inevitable adversity, finding gratitude in whatever fate brings, and ultimately facing the stark judgment of the evening review. Now, creating a rich, symbolic environment is a phenomenal catalyst for deep reflection. Think about the magnificent, imposing scale of classical pillars. They represent the enduring strength and unwavering structure of Stoic principles. I mean, these are ideas that have supported human resilience for millennia. And an open book? That grounds the practice in the direct lineage of ancient wisdom, showing that we're engaged in an active, ongoing dialogue with the past. But it's those expansive mountain vistas stretching way out into the distance that bring us to the concept of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Recognizing the sheer vastness of the natural world reminds the practitioner of their incredibly small, transient place in the wider cosmos. When you truly grasp how tiny your individual life is against the backdrop of those massive mountains, it becomes so much easier to accept and even embrace whatever the universe throws your way. Amor fati teaches us that we shouldn't just tolerate the events of our lives, we should welcome them as absolutely essential parts of a much larger, beautiful whole. A balanced scale representing the dichotomy of control. What's truly fascinating when you read the classical texts is how every single complex Stoic argument, every piece of advice on handling grief or ambition inevitably anchors right back to this one simple, brutal truth. This concept is the absolute engine of Stoic philosophy. It's the central grounding theme that transforms what could just be a standard quiet morning routine into a rigorously practical and distinctly Stoic mental exercise. Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how the scale serves as a powerful anchor for the mind. But the practitioner isn't just sitting peacefully sorting out abstract thoughts. No, they are engaging in premeditational malorum, the premeditation of evils. While their physical body remains completely still, their mind is actively running simulations of disaster.
They're visualizing the absolute worst things that could happen in the hours ahead. That terrible delayed commute, harshly critical email from the boss, a sudden financial loss, or even a betrayal by a friend. By weighing these potential catastrophes on the mental scale right now, in the safety of the dawn, the emotional sting is completely neutralized. Seriously, when you've already practiced losing everything in your own mind, you walk out your front door practically bulletproof, ready to handle actual adversity with total mental elegance.
So, let's break down the dichotomy of control. It's the foundational Stoic principle of relentlessly separating what we actually have the power to change from what we absolutely do not. And there is perhaps no better embodiment of this than the philosopher Epictetus. Get this. Epictetus was born into slavery in ancient Rome. He suffered extreme physical hardship, including a crippled leg, and possessed literally zero legal rights, yet he became one of the most brilliant and free minds in human history. Why? Precisely because he mastered this dichotomy. He realized that while his masters owned his body and his circumstances, they could never touch his mind, his character, or his internal choices. The Stoics believe that nearly all of our modern anxiety, frustration, and suffering comes from accidentally blurring these two categories, from desperately trying to force weight onto a side of the scale that we actually have no ability to tip. Every single day, we're constantly navigating the friction between internal focus and external focus. Internal focus encompasses your mind, your physical posture, your immediate reactions, your deliberate choices, and, ultimately, your character. External focus? Well, that encompasses everything else: the environment, the economy, what other people think of you, or those unexpected delays. Separating these two buckets is exactly what allows a person to truly practice amor fati. It's not just about ignoring the external world, it's about actively welcoming it as fuel for your own internal fire. Think about it. When an external event goes horribly wrong, the true Stoic doesn't despair. Instead, they love the obstacle, because it presents this immediate, tangible opportunity to test their internal character, their patience, and their resilience. True balance comes from pouring all of our energy into the internal, and letting the external unfold exactly as it will. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens as the sun fully rises, casting a bright, clear light. The day officially begins. The unpredictable events of the world are now fully in motion, but a state of total internal equilibrium has been achieved. Crucially, though, this morning preparation is only half of the equation. This dawn equilibrium merely sets the baseline for the Stoic evening review. You know, the philosopher Seneca famously had a habit of interrogating himself every single night at dusk. Before going to sleep, he would ask himself, what ailment did I cure today? What failing did I resist? Where did I fall short? The dawn practice of preparing for adversity and separating control only really works if it's ruthlessly measured against the reality of dusk. The day is basically a closed loop of continuous self-improvement, starting with morning intention and ending with evening accountability.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, the mental tools forged in antiquity are just as powerful in a busy modern office or on a crowded commute as they were thousands of years ago. The complete journey from dawn to dusk demands constant vigilance. As you step forward into the reality of your own day after this explainer, I want you to consider the profound challenge of this philosophy. What will you place on your scale today? How are you going to handle the sudden obstacles when your premeditatio malorum becomes reality? Will you weigh yourself down with the heavy, uncontrollable externals, or will you find your peace in the balanced, focused weight of your own choices? And most importantly, when dusk finally falls, how will you judge your actions in your own evening review?